In the calm and serene rural hamlet of Doba, central Iraq, a family sought solace amidst the chaos of their nation. The Janabi family, composed of Qasim, his wife Thakura, and their 2 children, once called the bustling city of Baghdad their home. Seeking a quieter, safer existence, they moved to Doba, enchanted by its lush orchards and the promise of a peaceful countryside life. Doba, with its sprawling fields and gentle breezes, seemed a world away from the turmoil of urban Iraq. The family settled into a modest farmhouse, surrounded by the verdant beauty of nature, hoping to put the memories of conflict behind them. They embraced the pastoral life, with Qasim working in the orchards and Thakura tending to their garden, while their children adapted to their new, tranquil surroundings. However, the peace they found was fragile. Underneath the idyllic landscape, tensions simmered and dangers lurked, often masked by the very tranquility that drew the Janabi family to Doba. But beneath the pastoral calm, dark clouds were gathering, setting the stage for a chilling turn of events. Guided by the lure of work on a bucolic orchard, Qasim and Thakura Janabi moved their family away from the ever-bustling Baghdad. The Janabis, like many before them, were drawn to the pastoral beauty and the promise of a simpler life, far from the cacophony and dangers of the city. Here, amidst the sprawling fields and under the vast open skies, they envisioned a sanctuary, a place where their children could flourish in peace and where the worries of the past could dissolve with the setting sun. Life in the countryside offered more than just scenic beauty. It presented a chance for stability and prosperity. Qasim, with hands seasoned by years of labor, found new strength in tilling the soil, while Thakura's gentle care nurtured both their home and the burgeoning orchard. Together, they planted seeds, literal and metaphorical, hoping to cultivate a future filled with possibilities. Their days began with the golden sunrise and ended under a canopy of stars. Yet as they laid their heads down each night, little did they know the peace they sought would soon be shattered. A fateful day in March 2006 would forever alter the course of the Janabis' lives. The sun rose over the small village of Doba, casting gentle light over the fields and the quaint, isolated farmhouse, where the Janabi family had sought refuge and tranquility. It was a morning like any other, with the air filled with the scent of blooming orchards. Yet beneath this serene surface, a devastating storm was brewing. As midday approached, an unsettling sight shattered the peace. Smoke began billowing from the direction of the Janabis' home, slicing through the clear sky and signaling an urgent distress. Neighbors and passers-by, initially confused, felt a chill of terror grip their hearts. The tranquility of the countryside was abruptly replaced with the chaotic sounds of emergency and fear. The local community, known for their tight-knit bonds, rushed towards the source of the smoke. As they drew closer, the air grew thick and acrid, stinging their eyes and throats. The ominous cloud hung over the Janabis' farmhouse like a dark shroud, hinting at the calamity that unfolded behind its walls. The first responders, a mix of local villagers and later security forces, approached the scene with a growing sense of dread. Inside, the reality was far grimmer than anyone could have anticipated. The once warm and inviting home was transformed into a scene of desolation and horror. Details of the devastation were initially scarce, as the responders were overwhelmed by the scene. The community stood in shocked silence, grappling with the immediate and visceral impact of the tragedy that had befallen a family known to them as friends and neighbors. As the hours passed, the smoke eventually began to thin, revealing the scorched remains of what once was a sanctuary for the Janabi family. The full magnitude of the loss was heart-wrenching. As the smoke cleared, the true extent of the horror began to reveal itself. Upon further investigation, a grisly sight awaited the U.S. military personnel. As they approached the smoldering remains of what once was a peaceful farmhouse, the air was thick with the acrid smell of smoke and a palpable sense of dread. Inside, a scene of unimaginable horror unfolded. A family brutally massacred, their hopes and dreams for a tranquil life cruelly snuffed out. The discovery sent shockwaves through the local community of Doba and beyond. Neighbors who had once shared meals and laughter with the Janabi family were now grappling with the stark reality of the violence that had penetrated their serene existence. The international community, too, looked on in horror as the news of the tragedy spread far and wide, highlighting the relentless violence plaguing Iraq. At the heart of the investigation was the stark contrast between the Janabis' simple life and the brutality of their deaths. Forensic teams meticulously documented the scene, their expertise bringing into sharp relief the ruthless nature of the attack. Military personnel, trained for combat yet unprepared for such a scene, worked alongside local authorities to piece together the events leading up to the massacre. As the sun set over Doba, the dimming light seemed to echo the extinguishing of the Janabi family's light. The local police, alongside U.S. forces, faced the daunting task of not only securing the area, but also comforting a community shattered by the loss. The empathy and solidarity shown by the soldiers to the grieving neighbors were a small yet poignant reminder of humanity's capacity for kindness in the face of such profound sorrow. In the days that followed, the site of the massacre became a focal point for both mourning and anger. Vigils were held, candles lit, and prayers whispered into the night sky, each one a plea for peace and a cry against the cruelty inflicted upon the Janabi family. The brutal scene painted a grim picture of a calculated and monstrous act. The region's troubling reputation as the Triangle of Death only added fuel to the haunting narrative. This moniker didn't arise from mere happenstance. It was a grim testament to the frequent violent clashes and the dark cloud of insurgency that loomed over central Iraq. As investigators stepped into this volatile tableau, the stark reality of the Janabi family's massacre demanded a thorough examination, not just of the crime itself, but of the underlying forces at play. The investigation began by piecing together the events leading up to that fateful day in March 2006. Authorities and military personnel combed through the charred remains of the Janabis' farmhouse, searching for evidence that could shed light on the perpetrators and their motives. Amidst the remnants, it became increasingly clear that this was no random act of violence. The strategic location of the farmhouse, near pivotal roads used by militants, suggested that the family's presence was a thorn in the side of insurgent operations. As the layers of the investigation unfolded, a poignant narrative emerged. Qasim Janabi, the family patriarch, had been approached by local militants, demanding his allegiance and the use of his home as a strategic base. His bold refusal set a tragic chain of events into motion. This act of defiance, though courageous, painted a target on the backs of every member of the Janabi family. The investigators hypothesized that the massacre was a brutal message, a warning to others about the costs of defiance in the face of ruthless authority. The impact of this violence rippled through the community, instilling fear and mistrust among the residents. Yet, it also underscored the resilient spirit of those who refused to bend to the will of tyranny. Each interview conducted, each piece of evidence gathered, added layers of complexity to the understanding of conflict's brutal reach. A brutal end for a family seeking peace, the Janabi family tragedy stands as a haunting testament to the extent of human suffering. In the pastoral landscapes of Doba, where the Janabi family sought refuge and a semblance of tranquility, their dreams were shattered in an instant. This poignant story is not just a recount of a single event, but a reflection on the broader canvas of human conflict. The tragedy of the Janabi family underscores a vital, yet often overlooked aspect of conflict zones: the profound and lasting impact on individual lives. Behind the statistics and the news headlines lie personal stories of dreams, hopes, and everyday realities shattered by the brutal forces of war. It serves as a stark reminder that the consequences of conflict extend far beyond the immediate violence. The psychological, social, and economic ramifications can reverberate through communities for generations. Moreover, this story brings to light the resilience of those who survive. The neighbors, the extended family, and the community of Doba, though draped in mourning, continue to forge ahead. Their resilience is a powerful counter-narrative to the destruction and despair, providing a glimpse into the indomitable human spirit that prevails even in the darkest of times. The Janabi family's fate also forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about the nature of such conflicts. How many more families like the Janabis have suffered? What can be done to prevent such tragedies in the future? It compels us to look beyond the immediate and consider the broader implications of war and violence. In remembering the Janabi family, we are reminded of the crucial need for empathy, understanding, and action in addressing the root causes of conflict. Their story is a call to the global community to strive for peace and to ensure that no other family suffers a similar fate. As we remember Qasim, Thakura, Abeer, and Hadil Janabi, let their memories serve as a painful reminder of the spiraling aftermath of war.